are coaches. We have 10 years of experience, and we're just reading some Reddit stories.
Okay, so the first one is asking about ideal heart rate for fat loss. So the question is, what should my target heart rate be for steady state fat loss cardio? And they repeat themselves, and then example, being on a treadmill at an incline or an elliptical for 60 minutes, what should their heart rate be for the duration of that? Is targeting a specific number / range best, or is it more about the change from your resting heart rate at the start of your workout to a target heart rate to maintain throughout my workout? In other words, and then they kind of list out some examples, all of which aren't terribly accurate, so I'm not even going to bother reading them. They say they're male, early 40s, diabetic, already pretty active, so on and so forth, just trying to achieve consistent weight loss. So simple answer is yes, there's an ideal target heart rate range. It's basically 65 to 75% of your target heart rate, or is what your target heart rate is going to be. 65 to 75% of your max heart rate. There's a couple different ways to find that out. The simplest one is just taking 220 minus your age. So using myself as an example, that would be my max heart rate would be 190, being that I'm 30. And then from there, you can take your max heart rate and figure out, based on your goals, you can calculate different percentage ranges to be doing the best cardio or best activity for you. So if your primary goal is to burn fat or more so weight loss than anything else, operating in the steady state cardio, which is what it sounds like they already know that. They're just trying to get an understanding of what the target heart rate is for them. You want to be in the steady state range. What this is based off of is our body has 3 different energy systems, and the one that you can be steady state in is basically the energy system that marathon runners or any kind of distance runner exists in all the time. That's why they all have 0 body fat, because their body is constantly burning fat as their fuel source, and they need to be eating lots of fat to be able to be successful. So we can take that knowledge and apply it to somebody whose main goal is weight loss, or if they're just looking to burn fat, so on and so forth. So 2 different ways to figure out that ideal range for steady state, which again is 65 to 75% of your target heart rate.
Is that zone 2? I mess up my zones all the time, but 65
so
to
that's just
zone 2?
What do you mean?
Because there's like heart rate zone 1.
That's kind of like a different
zone 2
yeah,
and zone 3. Is that not what he's asking?
You could.
Okay,
I'm just keeping it related to energy systems for the purpose of this. But yeah, if you wanted to go
something like the math so people can Google it.
I think there's 5 zones heart rate wise, so what you're thinking of, like different heart rate zones. But yes,
most people are
zone 2 and the steady state energy system overlap. So yes, but I'm just keeping it to energy systems based off fuel sources. So when you're 65 to 75% of your max heart rate, you are in the steady state energy system. Basically, your body is primarily using fat as its fuel source. If you're in the second energy system, which is any kind of activity for about 10 to 15 to 90 seconds.
So like sprint and like power stuff. So that translates.
More so intervals and weightlifting.
What did you say?
I said the second one. 10
to 15 seconds.
That's the bottom.
What did you say?
I said from 15 seconds to 90 seconds.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's my time.
I'm sorry. I just heard 15 seconds. Keep going.
That energy system is more so using carbs as its primary fuel source. That is like lifting weights, like a set of lifting weights, longer intervals, like not dead on sprints and stuff like that. And then the last energy system is up to about 10 seconds, which is dead on sprints.
Yeah.
That our body is using protein phosphate as its primary fuel source as well. So you can mess with what energy system you're operating within to best fit your goals. If your main goals are to build muscle, you don't really care as much about being in the steady state because it's not what you care about as much. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be in it, because it's just for general health purposes, but you're going to want to exist more in the middle energy system, where we're using carbs as a fuel source, and the sprinting energy system, basically. Those promote muscle growth more. This guy is the totally opposite end of the spectrum. We've gotten way off track.
Sorry.
simple answer to this question: 65 to 75% of your max heart rate. To find that, take 220 minus your age, and then that final number, which for myself as an example is 190. So I would just take 190 times 0.65 and then times 0.75, and then that's my range. And I think that's going to be about 120 to 140 beats per minute. And that's nice because that gives you a bit of flexibility throughout your workout. So you don't have one magic number. That's not how our energy systems are arranged, like I said. So if you're at 120 beats per minute, say the range is 120 to 140. If you're at 120 beats per minute, you're still existing in that fat burning energy system just as much as if you're at 140. Now, you can exist with this if you just get a little tired midway through your cardio session. You need to kind of throttle back, but still have as much time existing within the energy system as possible. You can be at 120 as we're getting a little more tired, and then increase back up to finish, or vice versa. It's about however you operate best. You might want to ease into it and finish strong, or vice versa. But you have the flexibility with that range to stay within that as you see fit. Another equation which is a little more specific, a little more personalized, is the Karvonen equation. I believe that's how you pronounce that. That brings into the equation actually brings in your resting heart rate. So
we'll just put it on the screen.
I'm not saying it.
Yeah.
So if you have like a fitness tracker and you know what your average resting heart rate is, you can be even more specific, but that's a great general starting point. It's just the simple 220 minus your age and then times that percentage that we covered already.
And for a lot of people, that if you don't know your resting heart rate, or that's not easy for you to figure out, if you don't have any like health conditions, or if you're not someone who's like 40 and up but exceptionally active, like if you're not on one end of the spectrum where you're super active, more so than the average person your age, or you have a health condition or are exceptionally sedentary, if you're kind of like in the middle, a lot of times the very basic formula that we mentioned in the beginning, if you don't know your resting heart rate, is going to be accurate within like 5 to 10 beats per minute. So you'll get in a good range. But if you have concerns, it might be worth like trying to figure out your resting heart rate if you feel like you're kind of outside that median area. And then the only other thing I want to say, to just kind of like add a little bit so people can be like really specific, is like if you, like you said, if you're trying to build muscle, either realistically the 10 to 15 second up to 90 second range, or the 15 seconds or below should both appear in your program. But if you're someone who like you're a power lifter and you're not trying to build muscle and you're just going for strength, for the most part your cardio should exist 15 seconds or under, because that is pure power. Like all you're training yourself to do is like produce power. But again, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do anything else, because for heart health you need the other things. But for most people, you can like your diligent cardio can be in the zone that makes sense for your goal, and then the rest can be accomplished by going for a daily walk.
That's where it's like we've learned like zone 2 has been found, like getting a lot of zone 2 work in throughout your week. That's been found to be great for just your overall heart health and longevity.
Yeah,
living a long life. So on that side of it, that zone 2 is great. I was just explaining it from a fuel source standpoint. His main goal is fat loss.
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
I was just keeping it to that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that if someone's trying to like figure out, okay, well, what is that? How do my goals plug in there? That's how we would do that. So.
And we actually have another video from like years ago. We broke down energy systems more in depth and gave other examples.
Oh, we do.
So I can link that. in the description.
We need to remember to link that. Okay. Anything else on this topic?
I think we covered it.
Okay. So the next one is a little bit longer. There is an edit. I don't know if it's relevant, but I'll read that when I get there. I've skimmed it. It might be. Okay. So this one is: has anybody here ever been told by a doctor they'll die soon if they don't exercise? Which already kind of an intense title.
Doing this one.
It seems good. It says, I'm currently 242 pounds and my doctor hasn't told me I'm dying, but he said it will only get worse if you don't do anything now. Which, to be fair, is much softer than you'll die soon. But we'd have no more about that conversation. It says, I started a weight loss journey back in 2022 and I was making good progress, losing 20 pounds in 2 months, which is pretty fast. But I suddenly started getting premature ventricular contractions, PVCs. So lightheadedness and syncope and muscle twitches. Their cardiologist, it says, my cardiologist has cleared me of everything and says I should exercise. This is after doing ECG, modified Bruce tests, a few other tests. Essentially, they are cleared. But they're afraid to go back to the gym because of what's happened before. But it says, but I would really love to lose weight. I have a 2-year-old kid I'd like to see grow up. So my question is, has anyone here fought through their illness and managed to get back to good health? And then the last little edit is just more them saying like they've kind of lost hope in their ability to achieve good health, and they're just very frustrated.
So they're hesitant to go back because they got sick?
It sounds like it.
The gym working out?
So it doesn't. I don't see any like additional comments from them, and the edit doesn't make it clear. But because they specifically said because of what happened before, I think we are meant to assume that like they were working out and probably pushing it relatively hard, because like for the average person doing it on their own, 20 pounds is certainly not like if you have a good bit to lose, 20 pounds in 2 months is not like crazy, but it is faster than most people experience if they're just getting into it. Most people are going to experience a very kind of like slow lull into losing weight. So immediately losing 20 pounds in 2 months, they're probably pushing it pretty hard.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So that's not, again, it's nowhere near like,
it's not dangerous.
Yeah, it's not dangerous. It's just like most people are not going to have that experience unless they're like really hitting the ground running. So it sounds like they had a good bit to lose, and because they went from pretty sedentary and a good bit to lose, which was probably just like general pressure on the joints and things like that, if they immediately started doing high intensity lifting and cardio and things like that, it probably was hard on their heart. It does sound like they've been cleared, but if they have something going on, there's kind of two options. One option is I would say they should invest in some kind of activity tracker. It does not need to be an expensive one, just something that will monitor their heart rate, and maybe even go as far as to get like a home blood pressure cuff, which are also not very expensive items. So they can just kind of keep an eye on their heart themselves, because it sounds like their heart is not as adaptable as they want it to be yet. It will, like stuff like this does, like your heart heals pretty quickly. If you don't have, like you haven't had a heart attack that actually creates scar tissue in the heart and does major damage.
So it's just totally cleared.
Yeah, and they've been cleared. They're going to be fine. It's just like they did what a lot of people do, where it's 0 to 100, and of course they're making progress. That probably pushed them harder and harder. So I think now they're in that place that a lot of people get to, where they're like, oh my God, it was just working, and now my body betrayed me, and I have to stop. And now they're afraid, because when you hear like, oh, your heart's doing something weird, that's terrifying, because you're like, okay, well, the next time it could be a heart attack, which if they've been cleared, that is unlikely. But it sounds like they either just need to monitor their heart and get it into a little bit more of a balanced program, because exercise is stressful. At the end of the day, exercise is a stressor. It is good for our bodies. It is a good stressor, but it is a stressor. So we have to, if we're going to exercise and push ourselves, we have to do active recovery. We have to learn to come down from that. And it's easy to kind of just like do the thing over and over. So if you're creating that stress constantly and building up that cortisol and never coming down from that, and then also forcing weight loss on your body, your heart can start to freak out a little bit. And if it's not used to, and if it does have a lot of weight to lose. So I'm not saying that this is a normal thing that happens, but it's not surprising that happened to them. And if you've been medically cleared and your medical professionals are telling you to exercise, you should exercise. It just might mean that it needs to look differently. And the unfortunate thing is, like, medical providers and healthcare or wellness practitioners are two different groups under the health field. A medical provider typically is not going to tell you what to do. They're just going to tell you to exercise. They're not going to be able to give you the, like, this is what your program should look like. So if you're worried that, like, all you know how to do is the thing that might have stressed out your heart, that might be time to, like, seek out a health coach or a wellness practitioner that has a good education behind them to help you design a program that isn't going to do that to your heart, and that's going to ease you back into it. Mm-hmm. And your progress might not be 20 pounds in 2 months. It might be 10 pounds in 2 months, but that's still, like, very good, strong progress. What do you think?
I was gonna say probably just take it more slow and steady wins the race this time around, just to be safe. A couple things. Well, kind of what we cut the question we covered beforehand, coincidentally enough, like what we just talked about, like taking it easier, I guess, in terms of intensity on your heart is actually better for your heart in terms of like just building up its health. So she can do steady state, low intensity cardio, which is she was probably doing like crazy supersets, and maybe she was doing CrossFit or Orange Theory.
A lot of group classes, a lot of people who have that
where
do
it's
certain
just
group
like
classes.
Have to be in a puddle on the ground, and like nothing wrong with a great workout, but like if there's no foundation, that they can have setbacks where get hurt or something like this happen if this was the cause. So doing kind of like what we just recommended could fit well for this person, coincidentally enough. The other thing is like doctors are not gonna clear you even if they have like a sliver of reason not to. So
that's a lawsuit real quick.
The
fact,
fact,
do that.
So unless this is like a malpracticing doctor, or like, you're good.
You're more than good.
Like
you're too good.
Like people will have like a sore back. Like we've had clients over and over and over. Like they have a sore back and they're told no exercise for 8 weeks, which is the worst suggestion for a back that just needs some mobility to improve, or an ankle or whatever. So sometimes if there's an injury, obviously then rest is the right case. But like doctors are like trained to prevent injury, keep you in one piece, treat illness, not necessarily quality movement. So they're going to default to like rest, which isn't always best thing. They're just existing within their scope. So if they say like your heart is good, which is like you said,
very much their scope.
All kinds of opportunity for someone to get a lawsuit on like that. You're probably very, very much good. Still play it safe, but like the main goal is weight loss, so you can do low intensity stuff and ease back into it. Like if there's apprehension with the gym, don't go to the gym quite yet. Just start walking around the neighborhood, just be more active, walk the dog, go on walks with the kid in the stroller.
Be okay with it being a little slower too.
Yeah.
But
so I think there's a very clear path this person could take, and if there's an aversion still, like part of staying consistent in any routine, no matter how versed you are, is the mental aspect. So if you're just not there, I wouldn't go yet, but that doesn't mean you can't still get inactive right away. That's all I was gonna say. Probably pretty short and sweet.
Yeah.
For me.
And this, just to kind of touch on, this is like, because we've in a couple of other videos for various reasons, we kind of harp on the like 0 to 1,000 thing that a lot of people do that can cause problems for a lot of different reasons. It can make you fall off, it can cause injury, or it can cause your body to kind of essentially panic and something else to go wrong. So that's another reason that like that 0 to 1,000 can be risky if you don't have someone there with you helping you figure out what 0 to 1,000 is going to look like for you. Like, because you can start and hit the ground running, but it has to be very well designed. If you're doing it on your own, you should be a little bit more cautious in terms of pushing it every day. A very easy way to like kind of gauge a workout if you don't want to do a heart rate monitor or you don't want to like track data or whatever is just your breathing. So something that we're taught to like see where someone is in terms of their heart rate roughly, or their like oxygen uptake, is how well you can say a sentence. So like if at the end of a workout or during your workout you can say your entire address, which is something that I'll often get people to say. If you can say your entire address without having to take an extra breath, it's a very light workout. If you can say your entire address and take like a breath or two throughout it, then it's a moderate workout. And if you're like every syllable just about having to catch your breath, that is a very high intensity workout. Those types of workouts should be like a couple times a week-ish, unless you're a serious athlete. So like just tracking like your breathing and your speech ability is a really easy way to gauge where you are without having to track any data, just to give people some tools to kind of walk away with and without having to buy anything. So I think that's it. I think that's everything for that person. I hope they start walking and feel better and don't get too scared.
Yep. Slow and steady.
Yeah, slow and steady.
Just
always.
scale it back to like, there's like she was at a pace of like 10 pounds a month, so just try to make it 5 pounds or even less, like 4 pounds a month. But it might take you 4 months to lose, or if it's let's say it's 4 pounds a month, a pound a week. Might take you 5 months to lose that 20 pounds, right? Yeah. But then you can lose 4 more pounds in month 6, and then again in month 7, and then maybe then you'll have a better foundation, and then you can start. It can be 5 pounds in month 8, it can be 6 pounds in month 8, whatever. Versus like a quick 20 and 2, and now you're at a commission because we were burning it at both ends, so to speak. So it sounds boring and kind of obvious, but like it's tough to do in the moment when like we all have like our goals and we want them right now because we're impatient and we just want it how we want it.
And you do it too. We all do it.
So
but yeah, that's a good example of like slow and steady will often get you to your goals faster than like hitting the ground running, just because if you're slow and steady, the chances of something that sets you back for several months, the chance of that happening are very, very low. Whereas it's much higher when you're like really pushing yourself and kind of overdoing it. So like a lot of times those two people, like the one that just kind of eased into it and did it slower will get there faster than the person that like pushed themselves and then had to take a break because they were burnt out or tired or got hurt, and then pushed themselves and then had to take a break. So it's just mentally easier, physically easier, and it's faster to do slow and steady. Like we're starting to repeat ourselves, so I think that's about the gist of it. Okay, are we done?
Sounds like it.
Okay, bye.